Thanks again for those that have just joined us this evening, and welcome to our UCEN Manchester live panel discussion. I'm Amy and this is my colleague Izzy, and we will be your hosts for this evening. Tonight we'll be talking about what it's like to study a course with a high practical component. So we've got some of our students who joined us today. I'll start with Amber. If you can just introduce yourself, guys, and tell people sort of what course that you're studying with UCEN Manchester.
So hi, I'm Amber and I study sports science. I'm in my final year.
Lovely. Joe?
Hi, I am Ahmed and I'm studying sports science and human performance at Year 1.
Fab. Hi, Ahmed. Bridget, do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Bridget. I study performing arts at Arden. I'm in my third year.
Great stuff. Finally, over to you, Joe.
Hello everyone, my name is Joe. I'm also in my final year studying sport and exercise science.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys. Thanks all for joining us this evening. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, brilliant. We might have one more student, Courtney, on in a minute, but if she does, we'll introduce her then. So thanks all for joining us. We're just going to kick on with questions. As Amy said before, if you do have any questions yourself, you can pop them in the Q&A at any point and we'll answer them as we go. So I'm going to start off and come to you, Bridget, because one of our Arden students, if you just tell us a bit about what your contact hours are like as a performing arts student.
So throughout the 3 years, most of it, especially in the first few years, we're in for 30 hours a week. It's quite heavily practical, and you're in pretty much every day. So it's quite grueling, but it's really fun because you get to explore like different modules and stuff like that, but it's majorly practical. And then you get some theory stuff on the side as well.
Yeah, and how does that compare to yourself, Amber, for example, on a sport course?
Ours is quite different. So the first year we're in for 3 days, and then these last 2 years we've just been in for 2 days, but it's kind of split half and half. So some sessions will be practical and some will be theory.
Yeah, is that the same for you, Ahmed and Joe, as well on the sport?
Yeah, it's the same was Amber was in Year 1. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And then I guess kind of that leads on to quite nicely, if I come back to you as well, Amber, about what that balance of theory and practical work is actually like.
Yeah, it's quite nice because if it's theory all the time, it's quite hard to concentrate, but actually seeing how it's how it affects people in real life and actually trying things out rather than just reading it, I think it does help a lot.
Can you give us an example of what kind of practical things you actually might do then?
So it depends on the module, really. Like at the moment, we've got a corrective exercise and a nutrition module. So in the corrective exercise, when we're doing postural analysis, so rather than just reading about different tests that we'll do, actually try them out ourselves, and then we can make sure that we're doing them properly. Because I think if you're reading about it, you kind of know what you're doing, but you don't know as much as if you're actually doing it on a client or something.
Yeah, brilliant. And then Bridget, if we come to you kind of in comparison, then what's that balance for you for theory work? Obviously you said it's 30 hours, that's pretty intensive, isn't it? But is that 30 hours full on acting, dancing, singing kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a lot of like performing and stuff like that, which is really fun. But we have a great balance. We're doing some context work, so that's what our quote unquote theory stuff is. We spend a lot of time like just researching plays and all those things later on inform your performance. Like let's say you talk about censorship or something like that, it feeds back into something you're going to do later on in terms of creating a performance for maybe improvisation or something like that. But it's a good 50-50 split, but most of the time you're going to spend performing, which is quite fun. So it's nice to get that little break doing something else as well.
Yeah, brilliant. And then obviously that kind of gives a really good insight into what the course is structured like. But if I come to you, maybe Joe, would you tell us a bit about how that practical component fits into assessments?
Yeah, so I think from a sports science point of view, I think the most way in which we get assessed is it is written, I'll be honest. But then I suppose over the 3 years, there's been kind of a few different ways in which we get assessed. So I can seem to remember PowerPoints, portfolios, literature reviews. So there's a range of ways that they like to assess you, and they all have different reasons for that, and I think they all bring about different skills. And I don't know if Amber has anything to say on that, but yeah, most of it is written, but there is other elements as well.
Yeah, so we'll do practical aspects of the course, which then we write up about. So we'll do a practical write up about it in the assignment. So the assignments do have practical aspects, but they're not purely practical.
Yeah, to kind of review what you've actually done as part of that. And I guess, so you've said there you've done quite a few different assessment types in terms of like sometimes it being presentation and those kinds of things. Is, I guess for all of you, have you got a preferred way of actually being assessed?
Yeah, literature reviews.
What does that involve, a literature review then?
So you kind of just, you have your title of your assignment. So you'll either have your own research or you'll have to research a certain topic. So you have to include existing research, so primary and secondary. So like just journals and studies, and then you include also kind of your kind of side to it.
Do you do a lot of sort of group work as well, or is it, you know, more sort of individual?
So all the assignments are individual, but we did do group work in classes to kind of get different perspectives on things.
What about you, Bridget? Presumably there's a bit of a balance between solo work and ensemble.
Yeah, no, I think definitely I prefer being assessed as a group, because obviously you're working as a team and it's just more exciting, and it doesn't feel like you're being assessed or like you're working towards the grade, even though you are. So that's definitely something that I prefer doing, because like writing essays and stuff like that can feel very isolating and not exciting to do. But when you're creating a whole piece and a whole performance, you're getting to work your actor's muscle whilst also getting a grade, which is the best thing, really.
Yeah, and in terms of how they kind of structure those assessments, is that assessment all on kind of your final performance, or is there an element of that that also kind of is about like the thinking behind it and the workshopping and the stuff that obviously leads up to that too?
Yeah, most of the modules we've done in the last few years, most of it is about how we work together as a team, how we think about the way we interpret the characters and the way we sort of round up the piece together, like what led to us creating this performance at the end. So everything's about the build up to the performance, and then also we get graded on how we perform on the actual assessment day. But in general, the whole grade comes from the whole entire process of making a play. So which is good, because then all your hard work behind the scenes gets to be rewarded as well.
Yeah, brilliant. That's, I guess it's a very important point to make, that just because they're highly practical doesn't mean there's any less thinking that goes into what you do.
Definitely. No, there's a lot of thinking and reading. Like I've read so many books, it's quite crazy. No, there's a lot of like researching and YouTubing, especially if you're playing a character or something that you can't relate to. It's really important. Like when we do Shakespeare, none of us know how to talk like them. So it's important to like research and make sure you get the cadence and stuff of like what it's supposed to be like. So yeah, like for stuff like that, it's really important to like research. And yeah, it's very tasking, but it's good.
Yeah, fabulous. That sounds great. And I guess leading on from that and kind of going to the fun stuff, it sounds like performing's obviously a huge fun bit and probably your favorite bit of it. But for each of you, I might start with Ahmed this time. What is your kind of favorite class and the favorite thing you've done so far?
I mean, it's all of them is quite of like nice and you're doing in gym all, but I would say the foundation of physical training is kind of like you go to the gym and learning how to do strength training, how to do Olympic lifting training. So it's kind of like class you learn some new things. I mean, and I never learned something like this before. So you learn the technique, how to lift weight and why you have to do this weight this way and not this way, and how to improve and this stuff. So I quite enjoy this topic here.
What about you, Joe?
Yeah, so for me, I think the nutrition is what I've enjoyed most learning about. It's something I definitely want to pursue in the future. And I think the reason really because you can never claim to know everything about the subject. Like even the lecturers will tell you that there's always emerging kind of theories and always new and emerging theories coming out. And I think it's really exciting learning something and then applying that practical element to it. So we do a lot of physiological testing, so like VO2 max testing, Douglas testing, so all about kind of getting athletes better than they previously were, and sort of seeing kind of in real terms how that relates. Because I think if you kind of see in a journal or something saying that, you know, this has this effect, and that's all well and good, but then actually seeing it in person and seeing it in the lab, it kind of reinforces that, and I think it's a good way of learning, and it's really enjoyable. I think generally a lot of other people that I've spoke to, we all look forward to those kind of lessons.
Yeah. What about you, Bridget?
Oh, it's so difficult to pick, you know, because like there's so many good bits. Like depending on the mood, radio, I love it. Then movement, I love it. Then Shakespeare, I love it. But literally, but if there's one thing I enjoy working on Shakespeare. I know it sounds really boring, but it's so fun to like understand like what the way he thought back then and why his work is sort of still relevant till today. So I enjoy like whenever we do anything relating to like Shakespeare stuff, and just in general when we work on monologues and things like that, it's really fun to do, or sometimes even contemporary pieces, because we're doing something with radio recently, and it's really fun to sort of see how that whole world, you know, builds upon, because a lot of people like watch movies and watch TV or go to the theaters, but not a lot of people know like about radio dramas and stuff like that. So it's really fun learning about that, really.
Yeah. What about you, Amber?
Like Joe, I think the nutrition module's been my favourite this year, just because it kind of looks at both sport and health, so it opens up like quite a few avenues, and you can see how one test might affect someone doing a sport and how it might affect someone differently in the health aspect.
Yeah,
it's really interesting, isn't it?
Most definitely. It sounds like your favourite bits are the practical bits, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense, doesn't it? So I guess obviously kind of going back then, what kind of experience do your tutors to bring to this style of learning? So, you know, are they practicing in industry? What kind of experience have they had that helps them teach you guys? If I come to, I'll go Amber first this time.
Well, they all kind of have different experiences in things. So some of them might have been PTs, or some of them might have been like more into the strength and powerlifting side of things. So if they've done coaching or anything like that, they kind of bring that in with them. So rather than just teaching something from a textbook, they can teach it from their own experiences and like how they've learned and the mistakes they've made, and kind of help us along the way with that.
Yeah. Ahmed, would you say the same?
Same, yeah, as Amber said. I mean, because I think we kind of have like the same tutors, so all coming from like different sport background. So when we talk with them, they know exactly what they're saying, and because they tried it before and they know how it's been done.
Yeah. Bridget, what about yourself?
Basically 99% of our tutors still are in the industry, so it's really nice to know that the advice that they're giving us is still fresh and very relevant for when we graduate, and things we can actively still implement when we get in there. And it sort of gives you like a little bit of a, okay, yeah, they're telling me the correct things because they're still there. And there are a lot of people who, because our teachers are still in this industry, have gotten like connections. Like maybe they've said, oh, I have a student who's has been really good in this thing. So they sort of like link them on to like contacts and stuff like that. So that's really nice to have that as well. But yeah, most of our teachers still are working actors, and everything that they sort of relay to us is something that they've done. Like, let's say it's learning about self-tapes or how to sort of walk into a shot or anything. That's something they've actually just done. So it's current like knowledge, which is really like reassuring.
Yeah, fabulous. And Joe, what about yourself? I guess you know, Bridget's mentioned there about bringing things from set and stuff like that, but and also those kind of networking opportunities. Is that something any of you guys within the sport have kind of experienced, having some of those networks open to you guys as well?
Yeah, I mean, just to add on to the experience thing, I think we've got some really good experienced lecturers. Some of them have, you know, been in the industry for 20 odd years and working at professional clubs like Liverpool and Widnes and the Rugby League. And yeah, it's good that they have that experience, but then they, like I said before, they don't kind of rest on their laurels, and they continually learn new things. And we've got one that's accredited by quite a significant governing body within sports science, and that's very practical. And I think that kind of ties into bringing the practical to the theoretical and merging them together quite nicely. So yeah,
brilliant. And then in terms of networks, is that something that you guys have found? Obviously, you know, if you've got people working at Liverpool, I think that's one of the tutors is at Oldham Athletic as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they'll always try and push that sort of thing. And I've had kind of, you know, tutors put forward things, and, you know, if they think you're right for it. And so, yeah, it is good for that as well.
Yeah, most definitely, especially when it comes to graduate outcomes, isn't it, in terms of taking you to that next step and that next level. Always helpful to have. So I guess then kind of coming back to it, it sounds like it's a lot about fun as well, but why did you actually choose to study like a course that had such a practical component? To come back to you, Joe, first this time.
Yeah, so I think for me, I was always into sport. I know everyone kind of says that, but it's true. I really was in sport, and I think understanding the kind of the scientific application, you hear a lot of people thinking that they understand things, but I think getting a higher level education in the various different topics, I think, is something that really interested me, and kind of I'd love to see myself one day in elite sport, speaking from a nutrition point of view. And I think you need to have a university accredited degree to do that, and you know, I can't really see another way of doing that. So yeah, I think you need to get that theoretical and practical knowledge, and I think this course was definitely the reason why I wanted to do it.
Yeah, brilliant. Bridget, what about yourself? Obviously, performing arts is quite different, isn't it? But I guess it's about upskilling with that training, isn't it?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I decided to study what I do now is because I grew up quite academic. So I will know that I wanted to get a degree as well as being able to like study performance in a more in-depth way. Because most of the other drama schools that I've looked at, they rarely award a degree in and give you the more practical based work. But the Arden sort of had a good split, and I thought, okay, great, I'll be able to do all my practical stuff whilst being able to get my degree through doing all the theory things. So that was definitely one of the main focus that I was going towards, something that had more practical, but I could still get a degree at the end of the day.
Yeah, still academic at the end of the day, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. And obviously, I guess, you know, we think about uni as the first step, but there's nothing stopping you from obviously then going on to masters, PhDs, etc. And I know some of the tutors take that route as well, don't they?
Yeah, they do 100%. And it's nice to be able to have that sort of fallback thing, especially with the course that I'm studying. It's nice to be able to say, oh, I've got a degree, then you can go explore sort of different avenues from performing that you can do with an actual degree instead of without.
Yeah, most definitely. I guess it's all those transferable skills that kind of
exactly
feed in. And going back to what Joe was saying before about assessment as well, it, you know, if you've done a presentation because that's your assessment, then you've got presentation skills in many ways, haven't you? So that makes a lot of sense. What about you, Ahmed? Why did you choose to study sport and exercise?
Yeah, so I'm a runner, and I have a degree in engineering and from Egypt, and I've been working in industry for like 4 years. But after this 4 years, I just felt it's not what I want to do, and because I always had passion for sport and fitness, keep reading about it, and I thought it's really the time to actually do what I like and what I want to do. So because of running, so it's easy to get energy in running. So I studied the course because I want to know how actually to prevent yourself from getting energy, how to increasing or like improving yourself as well. And so it's kind of like I would like to be working like with gait analysis to teach people how to run correctly and to avoid them for to destroy like any having any problems in the future as well. So, and because I really like running as well. Yeah.
Fabulous. And what about you, Amber? What was the appeal of a sports and exercise science course?
Well, I've come from a sporting background from when I was younger, so I kind of wanted to explore sports and health, and this course kind of covers both, so you can kind of see the effects certain things have in sporting backgrounds and for health as well. So it's just really interesting to do something that wasn't just all theory, because getting involved with things and having practice in certain fields, it's really helped.
Yeah, most definitely. And do you find that having that practical aspect makes you feel like you've got a better idea of where you want to take yourself in the future?
Yeah, because you get a better understanding around things. Like if you're just reading about it, you don't really know how to apply it. But by it being a practical course, you actually learn not just what it is, but how you can apply it to a real life situation.
Yeah, brilliant. That makes sense. And then if we come back to kind of a bit of an extension of that, but why did you choose to study at UCEN Manchester? I'll come to you, Amber, again.
It just intrigued me, the course. Like I started off with exercise, health and fitness, and I haven't really seen anything that was quite as similar to that. So I was just intrigued by the course and what it could lead to.
Yeah. Ahmed, why did you choose UCEN Manchester?
So when I moved to Manchester, I was been in Manchester College when I was studying English, and I started to know about UCEN Manchester, and when I started knowing people, and I went to the one day and I took with some tutors about the course and how it looks like, and I really find everyone is friendly and nice, and I just find what exactly I want to do.
Yeah, brilliant. What about you, Bridget? Why did you choose to study at the Arden?
The Arden's one of the top schools in Manchester, one of the top drama schools in Manchester. And like I said before, it's very rare that you find a really good drama school that also awards a degree. So, and also has a really high practical sort of element to it. So it felt really like the right choice for me. And again, it was close to home. So everything sort of aligned really nicely. That's one of the reasons why I just wanted to go.
Brilliant. And what about you, Joe?
I think one of the appeals for UCEN for me was the fact that the class sizes were so small. So I think it's like combining like a university degree with like a college kind of feel. And I think that's really good because, you know, if I was personally in a university lecture with 100 people and the lecturer was saying like all this content, you know, would I be happy with saying, oh, could you just go back a slide? I didn't understand that. You know, could you explain that? And I think 9 out of 10 people would probably feel the same as well. And with the kind of classroom approach, you can really get hands-on and ask, well, you know, why is that the way it is? You know, I don't understand that. Can you explain that to me? And I think that leads to a lot better understanding from everyone generally, instead of just sort of writing notes and pretending like you know what he's talking about kind of thing.
Taking a picture of the slides and hoping for the best. I guess kind of an extension of that then, Joe, do you feel like it's also helped you in terms of like building closer relationships both with like the other people on your course as well as your tutors?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my friends group on my course, like we're really close, we get on really well, and as well with that, like with the lecturers, you feel like you really get to know them quite well. They're always there to, you know, answer your questions. You know, you can email them, go and see them. You know, they're always there to for help. And I think, you know, with that like classroom feel, I feel like you probably wouldn't get that without that. You know, and yeah, it's good from that respect. Yeah.
Do you feel like that's changed this year with obviously some of the, well, obviously more of it being online with, you know, lockdowns, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not ideal. And there's definitely pros and cons to it, but I think one of the pros definitely would be that you definitely gain new skills. Like I personally never would have done this time last year, and things like, you know, using Teams and Zoom, and it kind of represents a lot of what industry are doing anyway. I think you've got to be quite adaptive, and I think COVID's kind of forced that, and it's brought about like new skills. And you know, if you had asked me, you know, last year to do a presentation on Teams and share my slide, I wouldn't have a clue how to do it. But you have to kind of evolve and adapt and use those skills. And I think it's been good for that. But then obviously, you know, there has been a downside, and I think that's reflective of society generally. But the practical could have been, you know, you can't do practical lessons from home. That's just, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, it's not all bad, I would say, and it's definitely brought about new skills that I've learned.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's damaged those relationships or friendships too much.
No, not at all. No.
Well, would you say, obviously, Bridget, you've been back on site, haven't you, as soon as we could kind of get you on? Do you feel like obviously it's a very big challenge when you're going from 30 hours a week and to kind of doing some of it remotely at the very least?
Yeah, no, definitely. When we came back, it was quite jarring because like we were working on our showcase and some of us haven't performed like in theatres or practiced that sort of like standing up and projecting your voice and all those things that come with being in a theatre. And we haven't done that in a while because we've just been doing this. So it was quite jarring to then come back into a big space and then having to project and all those things. So I think that's the only downside of being in your own room and having to learn through Zoom. But a lot of good things came out of it actually, because just at the start of us going to remote learning, online learning, we did our method module, and I think it was really beneficial that we weren't all together at the Arden, because we were able to sort of like focus and concentrate on method acting and sort of having the confidence to pretend to be someone else completely, because we were in the comfort of our own homes. So that sort of brought sort of barriers down for us to like completely play. But yeah, I think it also made me realize you need to constantly work on it, because after graduating, you're going to be on your own anyway. So it's important that even when you're not there, you still keep practicing and everything like that.
Yeah, so make that discipline is still self-sustained even when you're not got that accountability of being on site.
Exactly.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, that's really good to hear. It's obviously been a very unusual year for everyone, hasn't it? So it's reassuring that it's not kind of damaged those relationships and the quality of learning too much as well. I guess the only other things I got to ask is kind of how do you feel your skills have progressed across the course? Obviously you've all mentioned there's practical components, but do you feel like you're confident in those? Bridget, if I come back to you first on that.
Yeah, I think especially what I'm studying, it's definitely massively I've grown and developed my skills. And I think even the theory bits which were difficult, like we wrote 3 essays. We wrote an essay every year, which was hard. But I think having that made us critically think about what it's like to be an actor, more than just being cute and being in front of a camera. And we had to think about performing more intellectually, like all these things are brought about, all this beautiful like pictures and movies and everything come about because people have thought it through properly and sort of like fed in depthly about who the person you're performing, what their life would be like, what is their background, all those things has come from us doing the theory bit. So it was nice having that as well. But overall, definitely I've grown as a performer, and well, I hope I have, but no, completely. I think the 3 years has been a lot, and also being able to be, I think I'm more out of my shell than when I was in first year, because we were given the space to sort of like improv and play more and just push ourselves to where we can. So no, yeah, it's been really fun.
What about you, Amber?
Yeah, my confidence has grown in all aspects really, because in the first year we had to do quite a lot of presentations, and at the start I was really nervous to even stand up in front of everyone, but I feel like I could confidently do it now. And then in the practical sides as well, actually having to have a client, even if it's like another classmate, and do certain exercises with them, it gives you the confidence and the skills to know that what you're doing is right. So I'd say from first year to now, my confidence is like on a different level. It's definitely increased.
What about you, Ahmed?
It's kind of like, as Amber said as well, I mean, like I've been growing in so much field. I mean, even in my English as well, I mean, like I was in the grade when I started my course. I didn't know how to write essay in English, like 1,000 word and stuff like this, as well how to do presentation in another language. It just kind of like make you feel nervous. As doing something like this big in Zoom and stuff like this, I've always been scared to do something like this, but after this year, I've been seeing myself gain confidence in everything really, even practical way with something with course related to my running as well. I see myself improving as well, and for soft skills as well. Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I think when I look back to when I started, I was a bit nervous at the start because I didn't have a kind of scientific background, and I thought that might kind of hinder me and put me at a disadvantage, but I definitely don't think it did. And if anyone else is out there that kind of is in that situation, I definitely wouldn't worry about that. But when I look over the last 3 years, similar to what other people have said, I was terrible at presentations, and I couldn't. When I look back at my first year work, it's not very good at all, really. And just recently handed in a 7,000 word dissertation. I never would have envisaged that I would be able to do that. So yeah, like there's a range of skills that I think have advanced so much, and you do develop and progress as a person as well as that. But yeah, I think you definitely progress a lot.
Yeah, well, you all seem very confident, so that's
do.
definitely that's definitely coming across. So that's really fantastic to see. So I don't think we've had any questions in our Q&A box, but if anybody who is attending does have any questions, feel free to pop them in now, and we will answer them. But in the space of that, just like to thank you all. It's been really insightful and really fabulous to hear your perspective on things, and also really advocate for doing such a highly practical course. I think obviously it's about finding that balance of academic and practical that's going to get you into a career that really suits you. So for our Amber, Joe and Bridget, you're all in your 3rd year. Do you have kind of any thoughts on what you'd like to do once you finish?
I think I'd want to go on to a master's, but I'm not sure in what yet. Obviously in like a similar area, but something more specific. So I think once I've submitted all my assignments, I'll definitely look into specific masters. But yeah, I'd like to carry on education further.
What about you, Bridget?
I think just still exploring acting. I mean, I've got an agent now, which is really great. So it's just carrying on with all the knowledge that I've learned, and just hopefully getting to actually put that forward in the professional world, in the industry, which is really exciting.
Yeah, will you tell us a little bit about how you actually went about getting an agent and what that's like?
No, so luckily, a tutor of mine invited my agent, who's Kelly Scott Noll, who represents me now, to do sort of an audition for my entire year group. And after the first round, I and like 7 other people were picked for the next round. So he wanted to have a one-on-one interview. So we sent in 2 self-tapes, classical, so Shakespeare and a contemporary piece, and also music if we could sing. And then after that, he emailed us letting us know if he wanted to represent us. So it was different stages of just sending in self-tapes, really, which was intense. But at the end,
first step in what you'll be doing for the rest of your career.
But yeah, exactly. So it was good practice. I think thankfully I was able to do it in the vacuum of the Arden, which wasn't as daunting, because obviously my teachers and stuff could give me advice on what to do. But yeah, that was it. And after the last self-tape, he was like, yeah, you're the person I want. And we had a meeting and it was great.
Brilliant. Oh, congrats on that, Bridget. That's fabulous news as well.
Thank
and then
you.
Joe, what about you? What are your plans for next year?
Yeah, for me, definitely looking into doing a master's. It's hard because, I think when you look at doing masters, you want to kind of go more specific. So similar to Amber, really kind of look at, when I finish, look at the courses that I think are more applicable to me and where I want to go. So yeah, definitely look into doing further education.
Brilliant. Well, thanks all. That's been absolutely fabulous to hear from you, as I said. And thanks to those who've joined us. Just a little bit of housekeeping at the end. Again, thanks for joining us. We do have a couple more sessions, one running tonight, which is a bit more focused on what it's been like learning this last year. We're not naive to the fact that the pandemic might not go away come 21st of June. So we do just want to kind of share that with you as well, if anybody does want to join that, but about what the last couple of years have been like with the pandemic, and how we're planning to kind of go about it for the coming years ahead if there are restrictions still in place. If you haven't yet applied to us and would like to, you can just do that via our website. And if you do want to speak to us, you can always call our team. The contact is on the website. We'll pop all this information in the chat box as well. But thank you very much for joining us again, and thank you again to our panelists, Amber, Ahmed, Bridget and Joe. Really appreciate you being on. So thanks everybody. I hope you have a lovely night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Guys, bye.
Thank you.